The Working Artist Project is brought to you by Second Line Arts Collective. Learn how you can support at secondlinearts.org.
We're creating a platform for those who are curious, one that tells the story from the artist's perspective. Moments in time, captured from the innovators who are reshaping dance, music, theater, and the visual arts. This is the Working Artist Project.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is March 28th, 2022, and we'd like to welcome you all to the Working Artist Project. Mr. Darrian Douglas, how you doing tonight?
Gregory, Agid. Tonight is going to be epic for a lot of reasons, Greg. And we're going to get into it in a minute because I think we going to fight about some things tonight. But we also going to get – what you got to say about that?
I might slap you. That's all I got to say.
Yo, Greg is dishing out the virtual slaps tonight, y'all. But anyway, listen, y'all. Welcome back to the Working Artist Project. How about that? All right, man. Let's just get right into it with all of the stuff that we have to say. Tonight's episode is brought to you by Isotope, and Isotope is also sponsoring the Sanaa Music Workshop, which is happening when, Greg?
That's a good question. June 6th, right? It's the first day.
June 6th through June 17th in New Orleans, Louisiana.
Man, I'm so honored, man. Can you imagine this? 6 years ago, we had no sponsors and no money and just a dream and two minds and some hands and some feet. 6 years later, we got one of the most reputable music software brands backing us up. And we have a bunch of other people who believe in what we do, and we're very grateful for those sponsors in making this project happen. So this coming June 6th, we have our 6th annual Sanaa Music Workshop. And if you guys know any young people between the ages of 14 and 23, I believe, we are looking for young people to come, learn about music, learn about the music business. And it's going to be an amazing summer experience here in New Orleans. And we have the one and only Marquise Hill coming down to be our artist in residence. So I am unbelievably excited about that, and I hope you all are too.
Yeah, y'all, it's gonna be a complete vibe. And for the people who don't know, because we hardly ever just explicitly say this, Greg, but we are a nonprofit, a 501c3 based out of New Orleans, Louisiana. So yeah, if you're looking for somebody to support or something to support, or you want to support the music, just head right over to secondlinearts.org. And you can find out all the beautiful things that we do. And all of the donate buttons are green for money, baby. So hit that button. Cha-ching. I need a sound. I need a cha-ching sound, right, Greg?
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
All right. So tonight, y'all, we got the one and only Curtis Nowosad with us. He is, in my opinion, one of the greatest drummers to ever do it. You know what I'm saying? And he's in New York. He's rare because he can play anything. He's a specialist of all grooves, in all tempos, in all styles. It don't matter, Greg, and it's crazy. And you know, originally from Winnipeg, and came to New York, I think, in 2013. So he came to New York after me, and somehow he's more famous than me. What is this, some bullshit? But anyway, man.
Like, c'est la vie, my friend.
C'est la vie, right? Without further ado, I'd like to welcome Curtis Nowosad to the Working Artist Project. What up, Curtis?
What up, y'all? Thank you for that wonderful hyperbolic introduction.
You earned it.
Appreciate you.
You did earn it, man.
Thank you,
Curtis. You know, you know what I want to talk to you tonight about, man. A lot of hot topics, you know, and
okay.
I want to dive right in at the top with immigration, because that's kind of a hot button for a lot of people.
And we're going right into it. Holy shit.
Yeah, bro. Greg, we jumping right in, man. I just want to.
Oh, we tearing it down.
We do it. We gonna build a wall and tear it down and figure out why Curtis is here to steal all of our jobs.
Man. Yeah, well, today's a good day to ask me about it because I spent several hours working on a visa application today. So, I'm feeling great. No, it was a good day, but it's a lot of paperwork, a lot of work.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know how familiar with. Well, I mean, generally no one is very familiar with the process because a lot of
Wait,
people are like, "Oh, are you a
Curtis.
citizen yet?"
Yeah, can I ask you a personal question?
What's
Are
that?
you by chance an alien with extraordinary abilities?
I am, in fact, an alien of extraordinary ability. That is my official designation, to the U.S. government. I'm an alien of extraordinary ability. I have been for I guess 6 years now. You know, so I came, as Darrian said, I came in 2013. I did my master's at Manhattan School of Music. So generally going to school is the easiest way to come to New York in the first place, and that's usually what I tell people. Unless you have a lot of relationships already with a lot of musicians, because the big thing is that you need help. You need to be able to lean on people, and every time you got to do a visa application, like everyone I know that has to do all this stuff, like goes through the same sort of existential, like, oh man, I got to ask people to sign recommendation letters for me and sign contracts saying that they're going to hire me for gigs and stuff. And I like hesitate because I'm sorry, like, I'm like, oh, can I really ask them? And then like everyone wants to help, like,
Right.
Everyone is always down to help. So, but yeah, so I came, so usually if you come on a student visa, then you get what's called OPT, which is like an extra year called optional practical training. And so the whole thing is like, it's sort of designed for people doing like internships and stuff. So you like get an internship and you work it for a year, and then in that time you figure out what you're going to do otherwise. But for music, it's like you have to, it's not quite set up for music, but it works anyway. So that's sort of the year where you're supposed to get your visa stuff together and everything. So you got to get all your press, all your everything, anytime anyone has ever mentioned you in print, or anytime you did anything cool, all that stuff, and then get contracts from people, that say they're going to hire you for gigs over the next 3 years, which is wild because no one knows what they're doing more than a few months out, but
Yeah,
so you have to like.
That's kind of the crazy thing about this whole system is, like you said, it's not set up for musicians,
Yeah.
So like musicians, Greg knows what he's going to do for the next year because he plays with Michael Bublé. But
Oh, yeah, right.
for the for the rest of us, we don't know.
5 days.
Oh, there's a very, very significant Canadian, very he would be an alien of extraordinary ability. I don't know, but he lives in Canada still, right? Or does he
He's
live?
a world citizen at this point. I'm pretty sure like
Yeah.
everyone would just welcome Michael with open
Well,
arms.
exactly, but that is the thing. That is what's funny about it though, is that when you reach a certain level, that actually is the case. Like, so I'm once I finish this visa application, like, 'cause this is my third O1, and now I'm planning on probably applying. Like, I'm planning on applying for a green card at the same time, kind of right after. So, and everyone always said like, yeah, if you get a Grammy, then you're good for a green card. And I thought they were just like, it was just like, oh yeah, because that's like the level, if you have like something really good. No, like literally, like for the EB1, which is like the O1 version, it's like the souped up O1 green card. You're like a extra, alien of extraordinary ability or whatever. Literally, the first one is you've won the top award in your field. So if you win a Grammy, then if you go through the green card process, you'll just get one. I didn't realize it was totally like that. That's wild. So, but then if not, then there's like a whole list of criteria, and if you fulfill 3 out of 10, then you're, theoretically should be okay. But, I'm a little nervous about the green card because also like a lot of stuff changed under Trump. A lot of people working in these offices were trained during the Trump administration. So like they're looking at applications differently than people were prior to that, and so there's so many variables, but it's so wild that like your future as an artist in this country is decided by one person at a desk reading your application. They know nothing about music. They know nothing about you or your career or anything. All they know is all the information you give them. And it's like a stack this big, and they just go through it, and then they either approve or they first they'll give you what they call an RFE, so a request for more information. So like if you're request for more evidence or whatever it is, request for further evidence. So like if so if you're like borderline, then they'll like give you a chance to beef it up. But then that's kind of it. So it's just wild that it's like just decided by whomever working in an office. It's
the fate of your life is decided by some dude stamping paper.
Yeah, you're like trying to make trying to make plans. So that's why I like, and I know a lot of people who have done it without lawyers and done really well. Like they just just made it a full-time job for several weeks, just doing all this stuff. I have never done it without a lawyer. I have always spent money I didn't have on a lawyer. I have a great lawyer who is also an amazing tenor saxophonist. His name is Ari Ambrose. Check him out. He's like, this dude is bad. Like, I still remember the first time I heard him at Smalls, like after he was already my lawyer at that point. I heard him at Smalls and I was like floored. I was like, he was playing with Alex Norris. They're good friends. It's like, he's a bad motherfucker. So but yeah, so like, I've always used a lawyer because I'm like, just because I don't like think I have the capacity for doing that, like the organization. Because also, if you make like one little mistake, it can mess up the whole thing.
Yeah, I think one part. I know, Greg, you were about to say one thing I had never thought about was the amount of money that you have to pay to stay in this country. So it's a very classist system where you got to be rich to stay here. You know what I mean? You got to come up with $10,000 every 3 years that you just don't need or whatever.
I mean, it's not 10 grand every 3 years. It's
just say it's 10 grand for dramatic effect. Come on, man.
But what's wild? No, I mean it's like about 3 grand or whatever. But now also over COVID, no one was applying for visas, so to keep the revenue the same for USCIS, they doubled all of the application fees, just doubled them.
Nice.
Just cause. So like there's so if you're like, if you need to get an answer within 2 weeks, they have what's called you can like expedite. I forget if that's actually what it's called or if it's a premium processing. You do premium processing, right? You expedite it. And that was always, it was like for the last several years, it was $1,400, and over COVID, they just doubled it. So now it's $2,800. So if you and I'm getting like late on my application, I'm like I do not have $2,800 to spend just so that someone will look at this faster, but if you need it, I don't know. The whole thing is a racket. Like it's really, hopefully there are no immigration personnel listening to this. But regardless, it's like it's like it really is. It is really like a classist system. It's really hard to, it's like you got to either have money or you got to incur debt to, in order to do it.
They want to make you American real quick, man. They're like, hey,
right.
these cats from Canada living a good life with health care and some type of government assistance.
Yeah, right.
You got to take that from them like ASAP before you become a real American.
Well, and that's, I mean, man, the, that's part of like, would be one of the advantages to being on a green card, but like being on an O1, it's like kind of no man's land a little bit. Like, I'm a U.S. tax resident, but like, technically I'm not a U.S. resident because a U.S. resident, even though I'm here the whole year or whatever, if you're here for over half the year, then you're a U.S. tax resident. But just by being like you need a green card to be considered a resident. Then you're a resident alien, So yeah, so like over COVID, I couldn't collect unemployment or anything. And that was like one of the big things for international musicians. That's why like a lot of people like, had to, pick up and move. And so they put all this time and all this effort, all this money into getting a visa that's only 3 years. And then COVID eats up, X amount of it. And then you don't have any of your career is on hold. So now you don't have any of the, any of the stuff that you need to get another one. So like most international musicians will release an album, because this is the other thing that, it's, you can do it as just like a notable side person, but generally like notable side people don't get a lot of like articles written about them and reviews, mentioned in a lot of reviews and stuff. So like the best way is to release your own album, which costs a lot of money, pay for, PR, which costs a lot of money. Like, it's not just that's what you need to generate the evidence to get the visa. So it's not even just the cost of getting the visa. It's like all this shit, and making records and getting articles and reviews and all this stuff is great. It's all great stuff, but like, it's easy to be like, reviews are bullshit and awards are bullshit and all this stuff. But then when you look at, you look at the thing, any artist who's trying to come to this country is trying to get a green card, and like literally the first thing is if you win a Grammy, you get a green card. So like we could sit around and say like, the Recording Academy is bullshit or something, as people tend to do whenever it's Grammy season. People always want to talk shit, but it's one of those like, this actually affects people's lives,
Yeah.
I wonder what it would feel like to, because I've been here for 8.5 years now. So like, I forget what it felt like to like just be in the country that I was from and didn't have all of these various anxieties, So sometimes I'm just envious of U.S. citizens, because I'm just like, wow, so you just go about your life and like you don't have to worry about any of these things. Like,
That's what you think, bro?
yeah, right. No, I know, and that's the hilarious thing, because it's like obviously there's all these other things, but but every now and again I just have this funny thought where I'm like, oh man, it would be real cool to like just be able to have like a misdemeanor, I don't know why, like whatever, public urination or something, like something dumb, like
Possession of something, be all right.
yeah, it's like whatever. It's just like something really dumb. I've had these thoughts where I'm just like, because I've had friends who like, have accidentally, had like small legal issues, and it was never a problem because like it was just like a minor inconvenience. But like for me, it's like, man, that would be like the difference between me being able to, being able to stay in the country or not. Like that's like a lot of. I'm not trying to get arrested, obviously. It's just a funny thought that I've had. Where I'm just like,
It's a thing too, or like if you check the wrong box in the form, like next week they're kicking you out or something like that too.
Right. I mean so this is why I mentioned the resident thing. So my wife was visiting Winnipeg, and whenever she crosses the border, she can never check into her flight. She's on a different visa than me, but she can never check into her flight because it always says that there's an issue and she has to go to the gate. Like every time she has to go to the gate agent, and it's always with, are you a resident or not? Because she lives here, but she's on a non-immigrant visa. So technically she's same as me. We're both technically Canadian residents, even though we've lived here for 8.5 years. So like there's no place in the middle. They only have resident or non-resident. Non-resident means you're visiting the U.S. and then they ask, what date are you coming back to Canada? Where are you staying when you're in the U.S.? All this stuff. It's like, no, I live there. It's like, oh, so you're a resident? Well, no. It's like endless. So I have the same conversation with her every time she's got to check into a flight to come back to the U.S.
Dig this.
So,
what I'm curious about, Curtis.
What's that?
And, what do you think about American culture as a whole? If you had one word,
oh, dude, maybe that would be the one word. I don't know. No, it'd probably more likely be bruh. No, I don't know. It's American culture means so many different things. I think that's the big thing. That especially like speaking with Canadians sometimes about it, it can be weird because it'll be like, did you hear about this thing that happened in the States? What thing? Like,
which one?
Like which one, or which state? Like where was it? Where did this happen? It's like, oh, I don't know, somewhere down in the States. It's always down there in the States, like it's 50 different states, and like many of those states are multiple states unto themselves. Like Florida, that's 3 goddamn states. Like that's
almost like its own country too.
Yeah, right, exactly. Like all of them have their own thing. Like the like resistance to like central government is so interesting to me. Like in Canada, like a lot more stuff is federal than here. You know, like everything is you're very much like a resident of this state, and like there's just a lot of state laws and things like that that we like don't have on a provincial level in Canada like that. You know, there's a lot more stuff that's like a little more consistent across the board. But so you've got 50 different state governments deciding all this shit. So that's how you get like these like insane, you know, abortion laws in Texas and shit like that. Like you get these like, yeah, just all this fucked up shit that like someone who managed to just become governor of a state, which is a lot easier than, you know, becoming president of the country or whatever, you know. I don't know. I feel like the way the government is set up is totally different too. Because in Canada, it's like the, you know, parliamentary system, you know. So it's and in fact, I like don't fully understand how the U.S. government works. Like I do, but like I never took like, you know, what do they call it, civics or whatever, you know, like
Basically, the people with the most money get to make up
no,
their
of
own
course,
rules.
yeah. Well,
That's,
you know,
that's
I mean,
how it works.
Well, and that is
What's
true.
with all the singing of the bills and like the bills goes to Congress.
No, Greg,
Oh, man,
that's
yeah,
not
yeah,
real.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
not that's not real,
Yeah,
man.
right. The there's a great parody of that on The Simpsons where they're like where it's called "I'm an Amendment to Be," where they're like
Yeah.
they're trying to amend the Constitution because any law would be unconstitutional, so they try to amend the Constitution. It's pretty hilarious. Actually, that was one of the ones that they kept referencing after January 6th, because at the end of it, there's a bunch of bills all storm the Capitol, and like with bombs and guns and stuff, would go up. So then everyone was like, "Oh, The Simpsons predicted it again," you know. It's like, oh, this is very out of context, but
Man,
you know.
just out of curiosity, like as a Canadian, like what is the allure of like coming to a place like New York City? And you know, it seems like there are a lot of hurdles that you have to go through. And
Yeah.
what makes it all worth it to you?
I mean, like this is the thing. Like being in the United States was never the being in the United States was never like the thing. It was coming to New York. You know, like the if New York like seceded, you know, I'd probably still be here. You know, like this is where I was always trying to be. You know, I had a lot of teachers from New York and stuff, and I, you know, like I just didn't have much interest in like two of my my two best friends from back home like went to school in Toronto right out of high school, and Toronto is like the best place to be if you're staying in Canada, probably. And like there's great scenes in Toronto, there's great scenes in Montreal, great, you know, same in Vancouver. But for me, like everyone that I had, you know, I had interacted with a lot of people from New York and everything, so that was always my goal, was to come there. So I never like, yeah. So it was kind of one of those, like, if I'm going to leave home, I want to leave home to like go for broke, you know, I mean, quite literally go for broke, in New York, you know, instead of like stopping somewhere else. But there are a lot of great musicians in all across Canada for sure. But but for me, I think it was just, yeah, it's just this scene. It's, you know, there's nowhere like it. Like I played some of the best music of my life on a random brunch gig last weekend. It was with John Bichet, Dylan Shamat, and Arco Sandoval.
Oh yeah.
And we like went in because it was like loud. Everyone at the restaurant dug it. The staff dug it. We like went in a way that we had no business going in on a brunch gig. And like it was some of the most fun playing I've like ever had. And I just had one of those like, thank God I'm in New York moments, because I was just like, you know, did a little like gratitude break to be like, where the fuck else do you get this? You know, and I mean, I know like New Orleans, you also get this. It's just a different thing, you know. But I'm just like, where else are you gonna get this caliber of like people who are just, you know, like available to play in this restaurant at noon on a Sunday or whatever, you know.
Yeah, you know, That's one of the when I first moved to Harlem, I would always you remember the Harlem Tavern. I think it's still
Yeah.
there.
Yeah. So this was the sister restaurant, the Row House. So it was like just
Oh,
across the street.
okay,
So
cool.
they have a, it's like sort of, it's like a block down and across the street. So
Yeah,
same people.
I used to live right there on 111th and 7th. Anyway, I would walk
Right.
through that neighborhood and hear like I'd be like, these people have no idea,
Yeah.
that these
Totally.
musicians are the best musicians in the world.
Yeah.
And they're just having their mimosas and eating their
Yeah.
biscuits, chilling.
Yeah. I mean, the flip side of that, that people like, that have, if people want to look at it from the negative angle, the flip side of that is like, oh my God, you can't even be valued like for, like you work your whole life and then like you're playing a, brunch gig for people just drinking mimosas. They have no idea. They're not listening, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's
Our,
never
our,
been
our culture doesn't value artistic excellence.
absolutely. Yeah, of course.
And that's a cultural, like in New Orleans it's not like that because people value artistic excellence as long as it services the tourism industry. Now there's an
Yeah,
asterisk.
right.
As
Oh,
long
yeah,
as
fair
it
enough.
services
Asterisk right there.
yeah, the tourism
Yep.
industry,
Yep.
you
I
are
hear you.
valuable.
Yeah.
Right, Greg? What would you say to that?
I would completely agree. I was skeptical of what you were about to say until you mentioned the tourism industry part of it. I mean, I agree with you too. Like New Orleans is is the few places in the world where like the arts are still like integrated into society.
Yeah.
But it is definitely like selling tickets in New Orleans. That's a challenge.
Yeah.
If you want to if you want to do a ticketed event, like you put a band together, you write some music, and you want to put a presentation together somewhere, it's going to be a challenge to do that once a month,
Right.
or something like that. But again, if you want to sling drinks and play Bourbon Street Parade when the Saints go marching in, like people will be like hanging off the rafters, screaming and
Yeah.
yelling all night.
Yeah. Totally. And I mean, and it's all that, like, this is also the thing. I think that, like, I always have trouble being on any end of any debate about a lot of things sometimes because, like, all of these things are great for different reasons. All these different types of music, all these different, these different vibes. Like, and I think that's part of, I appreciate your compliment saying that I can play anything. I cannot play anything, but I will say one of my assets is my versatility for sure. And a lot of that comes from being in a small environment like Winnipeg, where like, I wasn't gonna like be able to play only jazz gigs. Like there's a lot, again, thankfully, like there are some great jazz musicians, but there are like some even more so like for other stuff for folk, indie rock, whatever, all these things. There's a lot of acts who are like doing like big things and are touring and like just live there because it's a relatively cheap place to live and it's home and whatever. But but yeah, there's like a lot of there's just a lot of opportunities to do a lot of different things. Like if you want to make a living as a musician, you can't just do one thing anyway. In New York, you actually sort of can. Like if you are that good at one thing or a couple things, you actually can just do that and be the specialist for that. I assume that's probably the case in New Orleans as well. That there are, people who do the shit out of one thing.
Man,
But I do know that there's also a big
were
mix of
talking about-
styles. So like, say that again.
When you were talking about Winnipeg, it does remind me a lot of New Orleans. I mean, like you'll go to the rock show and then you'll like next gig, you're seeing the same drummer swinging out,
Right.
across-
Yeah. So actually, yeah, you're right. So that's kind of more of that's sort of what I came up with. So like, I would be playing, even after I graduated school. I mean, I was just playing gigs in Winnipeg for a couple of years. I mean, this is the only way I've made my living as an adult is playing music, teaching music, doing other music adjacent tasks. By the way, shout out to Isotope. Those plugins are amazing. I have some of the stuff. I have mostly the elements, like not the expensive ones. I have the like whatever, the lower level of them, but you can do like some amazing stuff. I just want to say shout out because I do a lot of like, I got it pretty deep into mixing over the pandemic and stuff. So I'm really good with Pro Tools, and I was already good with it for editing and stuff, but then I started getting into mixing and everything. But all that to say, yeah, like all I've ever done is play or do other sort of anything related to music. I've never really
Yeah,
done
'cause
anything
it's-
else since I quit Dairy Queen when I was 17 years
That's your
old.
job. You were over at Dairy Queen.
Oh yeah, that was one of the essential steps in the obesity of Curtis Nowosad was
Uh-oh,
2
there
years
we go.
working at Dairy Queen, the stealing all the Blizzard toppings.
This cat, this.
I literally just go in the freezer and just like eat, like, oh, you don't have score here. It would be like Heath Bar,
Oh, okay.
whatever bits and like M&M bits and shit.
I in the introduction, I mentioned that you could play anything. A few weeks ago, this guy called me last minute for a gig. He was like, "I heard you can swing and you can funk and you can play Ray Charles." I said, "Yeah, I could do that." But
Oh,
he
yeah,
be on
yeah.
and so I said, "I couldn't do it." I was like, "Well, I can't do it, man. But why don't you call Curtis?" And I was like, "You got his number?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Well, damn, man, why didn't you call him before you called the guy?" But because it's a certain type of motherfucker who can do that, and people from the South can do it. You can do it, but a lot of times people from New York cannot because
That's one of those things that's actually really interesting. Yeah, and it is like, yeah, like cats from certain places can do that. Like where you like came up playing in church and stuff. Okay, then you can play pocket. Like there's things, but there are like not a lot of. Yeah, like it's a strangely short list sometimes when I need to get a sub for certain types of gigs because like the whole sometimes on one gig it's a mix of all that like pocket and swing and whatever and like that list is shorter than it should be. Like it's actually very interesting.
it's just my name on that list.
Yeah,
And
right.
so
Yeah. So
Look.
did you try these 5 casts and then I just sent your number 5 times?
that's right.
Yeah.
I actually did that to somebody the other day with your number. I was like, I didn't mean to send you Curtis number 5 times. Hey, dig this. Let's go ahead and check out one of your songs, man.
Oh,
this
we're
was-
doing this. Okay.
Yeah. This was called Sea Lion Woman. Check this one out, y'all.
All right.
Sea lion woman, she drink coffee, she drink tea, and then go home. Sea lion, sea lion woman, sea lion woman, dressed in green, wears silk stockings with golden seams. Sea lion woman. Sea lion woman dressed in red, make a man lose his head. Sea lion woman. Sea lion woman, black dress on for $1,000. She'll wail and she'll moan, sea lion woman.
All right, we can't give y'all too much of that. Y'all got to go out and get on your Googles, get on your
It's
Spotify's,
fading out now. Okay.
all of that. Yeah, that's what we do. And check out Curtis this record and find this record and buy it. Right?
Yeah. So I made the smart move with a frequently misspelled last name of just self-titling my album because that just makes it that much easier to find. But yeah, that record is from 2019. It's called Curtis Nowosad. It's got my name. It's got a picture of my face. It's everything you want in a self-titled album.
You could have just called Introducing.
Yeah, right. Well, it's my 3rd album though. See, I like to keep people on their toes.
That would have messed with people's heads, man.
Yeah, right.
Man,
Prince did it. Prince's 2nd album was self-titled. with the yeah, I don't know. I just there wasn't a yeah. I agonized for a long time
You know,
over the name. I was like, forget it.
we were kind of touching on like playing random gigs and just again, you're a true artist in the sense that you're a composer, you're a very accomplished musician, a drummer. Like how do you see success for yourself as an artist, like a musician who is an artist? And how do you make it all work?
Well, I mean it's kind of ever changing. I mean I think that's one of the big things. Like the metric is always, metric is always changing. Sometimes that means the goalposts are moving, but like the I don't know yeah, I don't know when I think that always changes over time because the like when I was a young musician, all I ever wanted to be was one of the cats. Like that was it. That was just I just wanted to I just wanted to play gigs. That was all I wanted to do, because like that and then I started playing gigs when I was whatever 17, 18 or whatever. Started playing gigs, and then that was a metric for success at that time. Like, oh my God, I'm playing gigs. I'm doing the thing. I play drums, and then people give me money at the end. This is amazing, But like, then it becomes like, oh, I want to play with better musicians. Oh, I want to get better. I want to do this. I want to put out an album. I want to like. It's always kind of changing, and I think that it is an interesting thing because especially doing, like I have put out 3 albums as a leader. I've got this like remix project that I'm putting out soon, and then I got an EP behind that. I'm sitting on a bunch of unreleased music right now, which actually ties kind of into this because like putting out leader music when you're primarily a side person is tough as well. Like as soon as gigs started up again over COVID, I was like, oh, now I remember why it was so hard to get stuff done like pre-COVID as well, because it was just like I'm like running around from place to place, like playing gigs and doing these things, and like I do think like one of the metrics for success is being able to say no to things. That's definitely like because I've always kind of just said yes to kind of everything that comes for a long time, and being able to like having stuff set up, having stuff that's good enough and strong enough, and like that you're able to actually just say no to the things that you don't have the time or energy for, because it's not even like it's a thing that you're above or anything. I mean, I think a lot of people forget that time and energy is finite. Like it's we've got the same 24 hours a day that Coltrane had. Like this is it. This every day we get up and we do this, and that's all we have, and we can only do so much. So every time that we're doing something, we're not doing something else. Mm-hmm. So if you sometimes we can get into the busyness trap of like oh, I've got holes in my schedule, better fill them up. And I do that for sure. I totally do that all the time. But
one thing I think that COVID helped a lot of people with is realizing that time is finite, because you weren't doing shit but sitting at home.
Yeah.
And saying no is probably the most powerful thing you can do in your entire life.
Yeah. And this is a lesson you've been teaching me for years.
Oh, well, I love saying no.
Henry shout out to Henry Conaway, our brother. He's been trying to teach me this lesson for years and years. We're just like saying no, thank you, is like a beautiful thing.
Oh, absolutely, man. Because like when if whatever I'm doing, I want to. Sean Cronin told me this. He was like, if it's not hell yeah, it's no, and that's kind of how I move through my life. Yeah. And so, like, if somebody calls you to do anything, go golfing. If you're not like, hell yeah, I want to go golfing, that means you don't want to do it. And so I just say no to everything that's not a hell yeah. You know?
Right.
And I'm happier like that.
Yeah. Sorry, I just found the chat on the YouTube, and so then I went to it, but then it started playing both what you were saying. It was playing what you were saying twice in my ears, so then I missed it. But yes, I
Rookie mistake. Rookie mistake. Man.
yeah, I know. I just wanted to say hi to everyone. Well, now I'm not going to type it in the YouTube chat because everyone knows what's going on now. So hi everyone in the YouTube chat.
The good thing is 10 seconds behind us, so you better be quick.
Yeah, right. The so anyway, yes, I totally hear you, and at the same time, sometimes the reality is like, yeah, I don't know. I'm learning it better and better. The reality is, I mean, especially when gigs first started up, I was taking things that I had because I kind of finally learned how to say no in like 2019. That was like probably the year I learned how to say no. And then all of a sudden COVID hit, and it was like, oh, that's a big old no. And then when little gigs started coming back, I started taking like, gladly taking restaurant gigs where I got to take my little drum set on the bus and whatever that I was like, didn't feel I had the time or energy for in 2019. But then in 2020, that shit was a blessing. It was like, but now into 2021 and into 2022, it's like things are busy, so it becomes like, yeah, I just gotta be smart about my time and energy.
No's been a challenging thing for me though, because on some level, like I feel like for a young musician, it sometimes doesn't always serve you very well to say no to everything.
Oh no, that's a very different thing when you're young.
But sometimes it's hard to see that objectively too when you've crossed that threshold in your career, and all of a sudden you're like, wait, holy shit, like I'm so busy, I have no time for anything, and I need to try this new word that I haven't used in a while.
Right. So, well, and this is like, I'm a big advocate of therapy, as Darrian knows. So like, this is one of those things where it's like self-image always lags behind reality. So you're always, and it's the same reason how, when you're a young musician and you think you suck and you work really hard and you get better and you get better and you still think you suck, but then everyone else is like, oh, you sound great, and you're like, no, I still suck, and then you keep practicing, and like, it's only once you've already been good for whatever amount of time that you're like, oh yeah, I guess I'm pretty good now, and I feel like it's kind of the same way where it's like, I think that it's very important for young musicians to say yes to everything, but then to have that experience. I think the thing that I didn't really learn was when to then say no to the same things after having had that experience. At a certain point, it's not serving you anymore. It's just $100 at the end of the night or whatever. That
the problem
you need when you're a young musician.
The problem that artists have is the inability to direct their own lives in the direction that they want to go.
Yeah.
So what happens is artists don't ask questions because they love to create the art. So you don't ask how much is a gig paying, how long, how many of my hours is it going to take up? So what you do is you get on a gig and you hate it. You fucking hate it. You're like, I hate this. They treat me bad. You don't say shit though. You just complain to your old lady. You feel it inside. Your internal compass is saying to you, do not do this.
This is not for me.
This is not for you. But you're thinking, I need this experience, which is complete bullshit. So you have to say, next time it comes around after feeling those feelings, that's how you know when you should say no. And I don't care if you're 15 or 58. Listen to your internal compass.
Yeah.
Listen to it. Stop wasting your life. You going to wake up and be dead, dog. Like, still playing some $25 gig that you hate.
Yeah.
Like, you lugging your drums up the stairs on the subway. You like, I hate if you lugging them up, be like, this some, like you said, you played the gig and you like, this is my shit. That's how you need to feel every day. You deserve it.
And that's the thing. On that gig, I had to still take that little drum set, in an Uber or whatever. Like, I still had to bring drum. I still had to, like, there was still, like, logistic, and I didn't have a good mat. So I ended up walking to the hardware store, buying a new mat, putting the mat down. Like, this was all before, like, there were a lot of, like, it was in the morning. I was, like, up late the night before. I was like, not, there was a lot of suboptimal shit leading up to the gig, but the music was so good that it was just like that, that nourishes me. Like, it didn't matter how much I paid. I would have, and it was 4 hours long too, like, which is like a 4-hour gig is like, You know, that's bordering on like even the best music for 4 hours is still 4 hours that you're sitting in one place using all of your mental energy to create. That's like that's a lot, but like it obviously was amazing. The music was amazing, so it made it all worth it. It was great.
What does man, just what does success look like for you as an artist? And
Oh yeah, right. So I never answer your question, right?
let's circle back to this real quick.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
man,
yeah. You got,
remember
yeah,
that
you,
question I
yeah,
asked you.
you got a taste of talking to me. So that's a good question. You know, this is one thing where, you know, like sort of a little caveat asterisk I might put on Darrian's listen to your internal compass. Sometimes you don't know what your internal compass is telling you. Like sometimes sometimes it's telling you this ain't it, but it's not telling you what is, you know? Like I don't know. I do think a lot about, I don't know. I like obviously we all have our own metrics for success. We're like, oh, I'd love to be, you know, on the road X amount with X type of artist. I'd love to be on the road X amount doing my own thing, you know. I'd love to just be doing my own thing locally or whatever, and then like whatever combination of those things you want. Or I'd love to like mostly teach so that I can just make the music I want to make and not have to take a bunch of gigs that's not the music I want to make or something like that. You know, like everyone has their own metric. So I don't know 100% what ratio that is to me, because I enjoy a lot of different things. You know, I do enjoy playing a lot of different types of music. I enjoy being a sideman a lot. And like, dare I say, I'm pretty good at being a sideman. You know, like actually I'm my confidence is shaken a little bit in this moment because I have been late for, I can count on one hand the number of gigs I've been late for since moving to New York 8 years ago. Goddamn, 2 of them were this weekend for shit beyond my control. So I'm feeling my confidence is a little shaken. But I generally, you know, there was like train related and my phone got wet and I was trying to deal with that, and so I couldn't turn it on or anything. It was like a whole, there were a bunch of things. I still showed up, like write it down. I wasn't actually late, but I showed up write it down beat, which for me is very late. And for drummers is late because like we got to get our cymbals up, we got to set up or whatever. Thankfully both situations were chill, it was fine. But for me, like I show up like neurotically early for gigs. Like I prepare in a way that I probably don't need to prepare sometimes, you know. I try to dress the part. Sometimes I don't always succeed on the dressing part, but regardless, you know, I know how to do all of these things, and these are all things that I like pride myself in, and like, yeah. So these are all things that I like really, you know, I do really enjoy, and I really enjoy bringing other people's music to life. And oftentimes I feel like I play better when I'm playing other people's music anyway. I think the times that I've played best on my own gigs is when I was able to just imagine that it was not my music, you know, because like when it's your music, you're trying to like, for me, I feel like I'm trying to like direct traffic and things and like make sure that everything works and whatever, and can't just like get into that headspace of like, we're just making music and we're flowing and whatever.
So success to you, it sounds like, I'm gonna wrap this up for you because
oh yeah, fine. All right, so
this is what it sounds like you're saying to me, Curtis. All right, it's the small things of being on time, being dressed right, and nailing the performance.
Yeah, you know what? That actually is part of it. That is part of it. I think success for me is being part of a team, and like accomplishing a goal together. Reaching a high creative level together, you know, doing that, like having the energy all be aligned and be right. Cause like one little, like any kind of thing, it could be from the audience, it could be from someone in the band, doesn't matter. If the energy's off, the energy's off. And like, no matter how good it goes, at the end, you're feeling that the energy's off. You know, like I want all of that stuff to be together. I'd like to do more band leader stuff. I'm very bad at sending emails. So this is one of the things that I do really need to like make a resolution and do, because I do really enjoy being a band leader. I enjoy playing my own music. but I don't know that it could be like the main thing in my life, you know. Maybe it could, like if something major changed and I had like a team and like someone's help to really align what I'm trying to do instead of just like putting out records and playing gigs. You know, like that's about what I know how to do as band leader. Book tours sometimes, you know. But yeah, I think that like success to me would be like, you know, well, on a practical level would be, yeah, like a combination of like fulfilling side person work and, you know, being a band leader, playing my music, you know, and I enjoy teaching as well, you know, so having some of that. But I think that maybe on a bigger picture level, it would be like being able to direct my energy wherever I want to, having the time to work on stuff because, like, you know, money is taken care of or whatever, you know, like I don't have to take a bunch of stuff that eats up all of my time or whatever. I can just take the things that I want to do. That's probably what success would look like to me. So there you go.
So,
You
know,
know.
as you're saying all this, you're reminding me of like kind of the way I operate too. I feel like, you know, Darrian's a little more high maintenance than the both of us, and
Yeah, it's
he's got a
true.
low tolerance for anything. He's just like, man, fuck this, I don't want to do this. But
I know,
like, you know, it's
and
funny because like I'm chill, you know, and you seem pretty chill too.
I admire the fuck out of Darrian for that sometimes. Where I'm just like, wow, you just don't give a shit. Like, I mean, part of it is, you know, I think part of it is being Canadian. Part of it is being from a place like Winnipeg. It's a small community. Like, you can't just like burn bridges and like, you know, like people, yeah, you know. I had a lot of situations where I wanted to just like tell someone to go fuck themselves and never play with them again. Like, but like you can't tell someone lose my phone number in a city that size, you know, like that doesn't work. You know, in New York, like you totally can't. You can have full on, like this is what you could have, you know, like full on falling outs with people and all this stuff, and it won't affect your life in any major way necessarily. You know, it can depending on who you have a falling out with, but like, you know, there's I don't know. So sometimes I do admire like people who are just like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. You know, I don't fuck with you or whatever.
And
Like
just
this is
for the
not for me.
record, too. Like I feel like Darrian, there's a lot of wisdom in the way Darrian approaches things too. Because
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, Darrian's always moving ahead with stuff, and
Yeah.
sometimes I find myself marinating some bullshit because of that.
Yeah, right. Same. Oh, dude, I'm the like overthinker of the century. Like the number of times that I've just been like, it's like, man, should I do this? Or should I do that? Whatever. Darrian's just like, bruh, just this doesn't matter. Like, just it's like, this is what matters. Okay, cool. All right, good. Thank you. You know, like, you know, my wife is good for that too. She's just like, nobody cares. She always drops a perfect. Nobody cares when I'm like, wow, I'm like worried about something. She's like, nobody cares. It's fine. No one is thinking about this. You're the only person thinking about this, and it's wasting your time. Just do something else. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna switch gears. I know we come running out of time, but I do want to have this small discussion before we.
all right.
Y'all already know what I'm about to
Or
say.
we-
Everybody out here.
What time are we got to wrap up or something?
I mean, you know, we usually go an hour. We're gonna go a little longer today.
Yeah, you are.
Just to get this discussion out.
I would have wrapped up faster if I knew we were all right. Whatever.
Oh no, it's all
I
good.
thought we were just
What are we
chilling.
about to talk about, huh? What's going on, Darrian?
I want to know, like, because you know something interesting happened last night, and I think it's in the media, so we need to talk about it here.
All right.
I know. The Will Smith thing, especially being Canadian, I'm pretty sure,
How do the Canadian people feel about this?
because Canadian people are the nicest people in the world, right? Or y'all have that reputation.
Right.
What do you just generally? What do you guys? I want to hear from both of y'all. What do y'all think about what happened? What unfolded with Will and
I
Chris?
mean, like there are no winners here. You know, that's ultimately the thing. Like Chris did something fucked up, Will did something fucked up, and now it's a big old mess. And that's, you know, I don't know. I don't really like. I'm already bored of it already. I'm just like, this sucks. This sucks for everyone. I don't know. What do you think, Greg?
I'm gonna take my American Fifth Amendment right and just stay silent. No,
Fair enough.
I mean, no. To me, what's I watch all this shit and I'm just like, it's the fucking show business, man. Like, how are we supposed to watch this and objectively like really know that this was not planned out? Like, are you serious? Like,
Oh
it's
man,
the
my sister
most
texted me
famous
right before
actor
we
in the
went on.
world. Like,
Yeah, my sister texted me right before we went on because she's been texting me memes all day, and and that's the thing. I was already like, I already got like, I love memes. I love memes so much. So like, when I saw the video, I was like, oh man, the memes are gonna be great. And then already by like, noon or something, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm done with these memes. But like, yeah, even she was texting me right before we went live. She's like, do you think it was staged? I was like, okay, here we go. We're watching it at work, and here's the thing. It's like, it's all like,
I just don't see how it couldn't have been I mean, I understand it could have actually happened, but like, again, like, you're looking at like, dude, Will Smith is a very well-known actor. Chris Rock, it's like all show business up there.
We're talking
like,
about the highest level of show business.
Yeah,
like
things like that don't just happen. I mean, maybe they do, but I don't know, man.
Well,
It's
I'm
hard
also
to
surprised.
really
Like,
dig into that.
there's no security. Like, there's no one like on standby when someone's like walking on stage.
No
like,
one
I don't know.
blew him out. Come on.
Right. I don't know. I just find yeah.
I think it was real, y'all.
I do think it was real. There was a great tweet. Michael Harriot.
I don't know.
He writes for The Root, and he was like, any of y'all who think that was staged have never seen Chris Rock act. I looked at Chris Rock's face because he's like, I was like, yeah, no, I don't think it was necessarily staged, or it was like the plan was to make it not stay. Like the plan was to like, okay, I'm gonna really smack you. Okay,
My initial reaction was, oh, this is messed up. This is fake because like, but
yeah.
When I saw Will screaming from the audience and the energy that he was giving,
Then
Chris, man, no, he really, and honestly.
But he's also a master method actor.
Oh,
so
for
like,
sure. He is. But it broke my heart when I felt that it was real, whether it was real or not.
Totally.
Because I'm a genuine Will Smith fan. Like, I read this cat's books. I follow him on Instagram.
Right.
He's like a light of positivity. And yesterday, he disappointed all of his fans.
Right.
And that to me is the worst thing you can do. Kevin Hart did a similar thing. I was telling Greg when he cheated on his wife because he had this whole persona of a family man, and then you go against that. Then you disappoint your fans, which is worse. It's the worst thing that you could do.
I mean, yeah.
One of the worst things you could do. In my opinion.
I mean, it's just it all sucks. I do think like Will Smith's personality and everything. He is a very inspirational person. But he is also like probably a sociopath, like very much like Michael Jordan, or like people who succeed on that level are people who are like not operating on the same level as and not necessarily in a good way. Like, this is like pathological behavior to this point, and it's like, and again, this is me getting into my therapy shit. I'm just like, this is this goes beyond like being well adjusted. You're like, this is like a pathological need for success, Yeah. And to me, like, so success does not look like that to me, but these are very successful people. So, good for them, You know
what? That's like the one thing too that like I really love about the community of artists that we kind of live within. It's like all of us, we're pretty much just occupied with creating music,
Yeah.
teaching about it, educating
Yeah.
others about it, but we're not the thing about Hollywood is like you never know when it's scripted, and it's like for the Academy Awards and for Will Smith and all this kind of stuff, like it's a win for them no matter if it was scripted or not.
Oh yeah, definitely.
All of a sudden everyone's talking about it. That translates to dollars. I mean, who really watches the Academy Awards anyways? Like no one watches it. So that's probably the best thing that could have probably happened for the ratings of that thing. And so maybe we have a valuable
the Academy is investigating it or whatever. It's like, what are you investigating? What are you gonna do? You're not gonna take his Oscar away. So like, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna ban Will Smith from the Academy? Like,
no,
get out of here.
Yeah,
But
Yeah,
like,
well, it's,
I do think that the joke was in poor taste. It was mean spirited, and
This is what I was.
but that's
asking
what Chris
Darrian
Rock
earlier,
does.
Like,
You
but
know, and like,
what joke is not like could someone not take the stance of being offended? That's my question too.
what do you mean? What
Like, is there a
could
joke
not-
that exists that someone could not be offended by? Like, I mean, even like the chicken crossing the road. I mean,
knock
chickens
knock?
and,
Who's
like,
there? Like whatever. I don't know.
Which
Like,
one is funny that doesn't offend anyone?
I mean, there's plenty. There's also the concept of punching up versus punching down. There's like that was very much punching down, and that is one of my issues with Chris Rock, genius that he is like there is an awful lot of punching down, and I'm not so it's one of those like, yeah, this is just mean spirited, like.
I think what Chris was trying to do, and it didn't come across. The joke didn't come across well anyway.
No.
But what he was trying to do was tie it back to the previous Oscars when Will and Jada and a bunch of other black artists boycotted,
Yeah.
and he made jokes about Jada.
2016, yeah.
Right. So he was trying to bring it full circle and be, but it just didn't come across,
Yeah,
So Will decided to punch him. This is what I think. If I was that upset, I would have waited until the end of the show, cameras off, and I would have slapped the shit out of him then.
Yeah, right.
Because if I'm gonna slap your ass, and we're gonna go toe to toe, I want to finish. I want to get all my slaps out. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna be done.
Yeah,
I mean, so that's why I'm kind of like, I don't think he should have handled it that way. I don't think he should have slapped him for that. I think that's a conversation. Hey man, you said that hurt my wife's feelings and mine. That, to me, that's gonna cut deeper, and you're gonna find a real solution to the problem.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And Chris probably would have said, man, I'm sorry, that was a poor joke. I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah,
That's
but,
probably what
everything about it was pretty toxic, and whether it was like genuine or staged, like it's all just shitty behavior all around, and it's just like I said, there's no winners, because then there's there's so many levels. It's a very nuanced situation or whatever, but it's just like there's just no winners.
To me, it's like a reflection of the human spirit. And Greg, you tell me what you think about this, man, because like even with everything happening in the world with Ukraine, and we can go before Ukraine, the way that Americans kill civilians in the Middle East and no one gave a shit,
Yeah.
Is it not human nature to be murderous? Is violence just not just baked within our very being? Are we just chimpanzees who can think a little bit better? Because that's what it seems like. Like we can't evolve past violence.
I mean, honestly, I think I agree with Curtis too, man. I think everyone lost last night, and it's like just a poor reflection on. It's a poor reflection on what gets attention.
Yeah.
And I think what really sucks about all this is that, like, violence is maybe one of the key motivators for attention and eyes and eyeballs and dollar bills and all that kind of shit. And it just sucks that, I agree. I think a much more effective way of dealing with that, like, how much more powerful would it have been if Will Smith accepted the Academy Award and used that as an opportunity to express his, dissatisfaction with the joke and how it hurt him and his family, and that now we're never coming back to the Oscars again or the Academy Awards because this is disgraceful and we don't agree with this.
Yeah.
Like, that would have been, to me,
That would have started a whole
that would have
started a
been
whole
undisputed. Will Smith is the greatest person ever, and we'll see you later. Good night. But yeah,
Well, they would have canceled Chris Rock, which is another problem.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. I don't think everything is as like black and white as like, you're right, you're wrong. Hey, this guy's wrong. This guy's a piece of shit. This guy's whatever. Like, everything is complicated, and we didn't all get here because of Ukraine or whatever happened before that. This is just thousands of years of cumulative shit that's just
But
like.
speaking of that, I mean, shit is, there's all kinds of other fucked up shit that this is a huge distraction from. That this is like, not to say that like, whatever. One thing, there's all kinds of things going on, but even, shit with Russia and Ukraine is getting worse, and there's like, I don't know, there's like all these other things that would be, talking about time and energy being finite, like attention is finite.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's grabbing your fucking time and your attention, and now we're all talking about this instead of like what's the dominant of C? I can't even remember.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I just like Oh, Jesus is the answer, by the way. had to throw it in there. No, I don't know, man. I don't know. You said we were talking about the Oscars. I was like, oh, really? I dropped that little Danny DeVito shaking his head.
Oh yeah.
Gif. I was like,
we had to get it in there, man, because
of course I know.
it's just yeah. Honestly, I'm worn out. We ain't never got to talk about it again.
Yeah.
What sucks about this too is like what's complicated is that I think all of us are aspiring artists, and I would say that most of the people who listen to this are aspiring artists. The people we teach are aspiring artists.
Yep.
And the unfortunate reality of what we do is that we have to these guys are using bullshit to sell their art. And man, it just sucks that like it seems like everyone is kind of going to this lowest common denominator to get attention and sell records and sell movies and all this kind of shit.
Because both Chris Rock and Will Smith are incredible artists. I mean, they're both very good at what they do. So yeah, it just becomes like, and also just the Academy is supposed to be, about people in the art of acting or whatever. So as a whole, the whole thing was it's just cheap and. I don't know.
We've come full circle from Grammys being your ticket to American citizenship to
Yeah, right. There you go.
Oscars being like fucking Maury these days.
Yeah, right. The
Oh damn.
And you are not the father.
That was like Jerry Springer. Like Chris comes out at the end and it's like Jerry's thoughts or whatever. Oh man, that's a whole throwback. That's like a throwback to the same time period as G.I. Jane.
It is.
I just couldn't believe he referenced. I was like, it was like just such a weird dated reference anyway. That it was just like,
That's true.
Like what?
Like,
what was that? Like
people-
1997 or something?
Yeah.
It was just like most of the people like sharing this, they have no idea what G.I. Jane was.
Lupita, she didn't know. What's her name? Lupita. She didn't know what the fuck G.I. Jane was.
Yeah, right. And so this is kind of one of my complaints about Chris Rock is that like he hasn't contemporized super well. Like I do find that there are kind of some things where it's like he's kind of like frozen in a certain period in time. So that's why like some of these things don't go over because it's like like shit has evolved. Like shit has changed, like he doesn't know anyone anything. He can be who he is. But like sometimes that's one of the things is like, this joke didn't go over. I mean, it was kind of like there were some other things on SNL too where it was just like, this didn't go over because like that's, like culture changes, like shit changes, every like 5-10 years, like we all kind of got to like roll with that a little bit.
Are we all?
It's always just kind of boring when people are like, oh, I don't want to. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know. I don't mean to keep using the word boring, but I'm just like, to me, it's boring at a certain point. It's just like, okay, then don't. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
The YouTube Awards coming up. That's what's gonna be. It's gonna replace the Academy and the
Right.
Spotify Grammy or whatever is gonna be the next thing.
Yeah.
Shoot, I know people who have won Emmys for YouTube videos. I mean, that's like
Yeah, it's a new
going
thing.
that way.
All right, y'all. We're gonna wrap it
This
up,
is it?
Curtis. This is
Oh,
it.
okay.
Man.
All right.
We wrapping it up, man. We wrapping it up.
8:14.
Everybody. Yeah, it's 8:14. It's 8:14 in New Orleans. It's 9:14 here in New York, y'all. Everybody listening, y'all. We want to thank the one and only Curtis.
Sorry. Where are you, Darrian?
Oh, I'm in New Jersey. My bad. Curtis is in New York. You see how they do me, Greg? They treat me any kind of way up here, y'all.
Man, it's you don't live in New York, so
That's right.
Listen,
I left, man. I left. I had a
But
kid.
it's still
I got-
9:14 in the Garden State. That's true.
That's right, baby. All right, so we want to thank Curtis Nowosad for coming on the Working Artist Project.
Thanks so much for having me, y'all.
But before we go, We want to
Okay.
make sure we give you an opportunity to sell your boxing gloves and your records, and tell the people how they can get you and where they can download all your stuff from. Where can they do that at, Curtis? Give them all
What'd you
your
say about
links.
boxing gloves? I literally have boxing gloves. Right here.
That's what I know.
Anyway, where can you find? I mean, Bandcamp is always the best place. Bandcamp, all day. So curtisnowosad.bandcamp.com. But you can go to my website, curtisnowosad.com, and if you spell my last name wrong, it'll go there anyway, because it just happens a lot. So just remember, it's Nowosad with 2 O's and 1 A, not 1 O and 2 A's. Anyway,
Nowosad.
yeah. So I will have some new music coming out. I promise. It's finally in motion. So we put these remixes out. I got of that whole last record. I had 9 different producers do like remixes of the tracks. All reimagined in all different ways. And then so I'll be putting some new music out soon. But in the meantime, I have 3 records up on Bandcamp that you can buy. And come follow me on social media. I'm easy to find. I'm pretty sure I'm the only Curtis Nowosad on the planet. So this is like a very obscure Ukrainian last name. That doesn't even really follow the rules of Ukrainian. It's like whatever. So like anyone with that last name is not named Curtis. Like it's like you'd be like Vladimir or something.
Right.
So anyway, so pretty easy to find. Go ahead and look me up.
All right, y'all. So y'all know where to find him. Go to his Bandcamp, go to his Instagram, go to his Facebook page. He also has an Omegle page. So find him anywhere you can find him with your Googles.
Got a like page?
Oh, man. No, he doesn't. But check him out online, y'all.
I don't even know what you're talking about. Maybe I got to get on TikTok, though.
Yeah, get on TikTok. Get on TikTok.
Yeah.
And
It's just going to be me playing double stroke rolls all day long.
that's right. That's what Jason Marcellus does. You can do it too.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay,
Jason.
All right, y'all. My name is Darrian Douglas.
Gregory, Agid, Curtis, thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks for having me.
I'll catch y'all next